leftovers with a lot of spices. Still not the best if I don't go walk a lot after or exercise. Yeah, so yesterday I was pretty upset with how my body was feeling, and I got angry, and it was the kind of anger I can turn into motivation. But it was also a bit impulsive, so you know, I was thinking really early this morning I would leave and just go anywhere really. In part looking up places where there's badminton, because I know that would make my body feel better and that would bring joy in my life, the endorphins. And but I knew it was impulsive, but it made me, with the motivation, do a lot of research, and so set up a plan for maybe not 24 hours, but not many months either, to go somewhere else. And one of the reasons, again, is I value real friendships. And there's a difference between that and, let's say, an acquaintance. Even if it's an acquaintance that sometimes is planned when you meet them, or sometimes it's random, and most of the time there's laughter, but there's still not friendship in the sense that, you know what's happening in each other's lives because you talk, a few times a week, and you know each other, and you want to know each other, and you want to follow each other's lives, and you want to advise with care and concern in a caring way, because you kind of, you don't want to lose that friend, and you become better at, let's say, knowing them, and therefore assuring for their happiness. And then of course there's romance that would be nice as well. And why do I prioritize that as the Martin Pariseau instead of, let's say, work? And it's because I'm normal for an Homo sapien, but abnormal for the Homo communia, which is you, the 99.96% of you. So I prioritize just one healthy, intimate, social relationship with a person. And sometimes I've had that with other people's pets, as they call them, and it was enough to keep me someplace. Like that we know each other, that we appreciate each other, and we could sense it, even though we didn't share, the same language. And sometimes that was enough. So people would say, well, get a job or volunteer or whatever. And it's not about that, because, like I'd have to clone myself and do your strategy everywhere around the world to find that 0.04%. Hey, here's something that maybe could provide you with a slightly different explanation of what I'm talking about. Listen to this.
Will,
I never thought I'd see you again.
we need to talk.
You're on board because of him.
No. Commander Riker and I are friends. Close friends, but nothing more. Why don't we sit down?
So there's two Rikers in this episode, okay? But you're going to hear what he says, why he's so happy to see her. Because he got to realize something that the other Riker didn't realize about being a social creature.
Do you remember the last time we saw each other?
Like yesterday. The Jadaran Falls on Beta Z.
It was the day before you started your tour on the Potemkin.
And we were going to meet on Risa 6 weeks later.
We never did.
I know.
No, what I mean is, Commander Riker and I never did.
Because the other Commander Riker, I'll tell you the story a little bit so I understand a little bit the conversation, is there was an incident with the transporter where Commander Riker came back to his ship before he was posted on the Enterprise, and they were romantically involved in a way that they had a potential future together at that point, while another version of his identity through the technology that rematerialized his DNA bounced another beam back to the planet where he was there by himself for 8 years. So see what he says.
You see, he earned a promotion very quickly.
I know that too. For exceptional valor during the evacuation of the research station on Nervala 4. I'm looking at his service record.
He chose to make his career a priority. There wasn't much time for anything else. We kept in touch, but we didn't see each other again until we were both posted to the Enterprise 2 years later. By then, our feelings for each other had changed. We've served together for 6 years. Things never went back to the way they used to be.
So we are born as social creatures. We're not born as little potential career machines. Okay, so when we reach the end of our lives, we realize that most of us, not me, I'm not going to do that. Even if I have my dream location to give my dream Humanix not-for-profit society program, and it brings me great joy, still, if I remain solo in my life, without a real intimate relationship, hopefully with a member of the species I share DNA with, is I will have regrets when I'm old. So you guys that have never learned relationship skills because it wasn't prioritized in your societies, whatever type of society you want to call it, you will have regrets, you will have sadness, you will realize you failed as what you were born to be, social creatures that create these awesome sociological manifestations if you were human. If you learned Humanix thinking tools, if you learned relationship skills, parenting skills, if you became lifelong learners, if you stayed curious about all the things, including the social sciences, that would really manifest the best of what this could be. But none of you do, and really the majority of you have already lost the ability to understand this and work towards it before I was even born. I remember an ex-girlfriend I had that was intelligent in various ways. Like her mind was witty and she was creative, but she had, like most, disabilities with other forms of intelligence or skill sets that are important to be an incredibly complex social primate in complex proto-societies that are really not offering us a way to get back on course. And I remember in a bus station in Toronto, after we rode a smaller city bus together, or a regular sized city buses, I think she knew that she might never see me again, although she reached for me after to see if I'd go join her. But again, I could see she was prioritizing career, not relationship. And I lost her. And I still think of her. And the other day I thought of her. It's like 2023, and go see if there's information about her on the internet. and it's normal for me to do that because I'm a social creature, And over the years, when we didn't reconnect, she showed signs that the red flags I knew were likely to not be repaired if I attempted a relationship with her were obviously still there, right? It was career, was money, it was based on her own psycho history of her youth, of what she felt needed to be a successful life based on the traumas of her youth, which we all have. So we need to overcome a lot of our traumas to become human, except we have no trauma services of competence in any proto-society of the world as we keep accelerating traumas to each other. Whether we are in a country that is at war or not, we are not solving issues that are getting worse, that we know are getting worse, and that we are not having the right conversations about. Now, there's an intuitive brilliance in us about problem solving the obvious when it comes to, let's say, social needs in our brains, like our little kid young brains in there know what to do. So we might not be able to express it in a debate, but we know we're failing at this, and we belong to societies that are failing at this. So it's sad. But I still think of that ex when she walked away from me and didn't turn around, and I just kept looking at her back, walking away and going out the door, and I knew this is probably the last time I'd see this girl again. And we'd already gone through hardships. We broke up when I said I wasn't happy, but I loved her, but I wasn't happy in a relationship, hoping it would guide us towards, more serious attempts at couples counseling, so that, we could both, because I wasn't very good at it either back then, maybe learn better relationship skills and build a better foundation, because I knew that was important to me. It always was. Romantic love, intimacy. careers would come later, like I knew I had. Like if you have social skills, for example, relationship skills, that's one pretty serious transferable skill in most industries, unless you work alone in the woods. I mean, you could have those skills, but you don't need them for that job. So they are very useful for most jobs anyways, and we don't get that because money leads us to intellectual laziness and the path of least resistance. It doesn't lead us to humanity. So listen to the last part of this and you'll realize why there's a vlog about the choices and the priorities and the logic that is in the brain of the Martin Pariseau, if anybody cares to know about him.
I had a lot of time on my hands when I was down at that station. There were days that I was so lonely I thought I might lose my mind. Do you know how I made it through? I thought if I hung on for one more day, they'd rescue me. Maybe I'd see you again. I guess things don't always work out the way you expect them to.
I know this isn't what you were hoping for. But that doesn't mean you can't make a future for yourself.
I can't remember how this episode ends, but I hope he doesn't change because the hardships he went through, because even in times of Star Trek, The Next Generation, which is the most advanced form of civilization that science fiction has come up with, except for Avatar maybe, except we don't realize that. And I'm talking about the blue people in Avatar, not the white ones, or the people from Earth. And what's important to us is what this other Riker is talking about here, is at the root of it all is our brains are like this big nut for building planes and flying somewhere to just be an idiot somewhere else. That's not what our brains are big for. By the way, most people don't know how planes work, what makes them break, what this button does. It's just a few people have a few different specialties. So the brain has been never used to its full potential, which a lot of it is related to collaboration on complex scales and understanding of systems, ecological, social systems on complex scales. And it's things we've never prioritized. And therefore our brains have been devolving just for that, even before, let's say, HSD has been accelerating before my birth, which has caused, dysfunctional cognitive processes set into our brains in all proto-societies of the world. That now it's too late, but I prioritize social interactions. What keeps me going in my hardships, just like him, is the hope for the future where I could sit on a couch and watch a show I've already seen and hold the hand of somebody I love, and just holding the hand is the greatest happiness in the world. And then cooking a meal together, laughing, listening to music, dancing a little bit, joking, sharing this meal. Maybe during the meal there'd be conversations of future planning, of things we'd look forward to. There'd be a walk after to digest, exercise, bump into neighbors. For me, that's the kind of thing I'd look forward to. And it has nothing to do, this guy's not fantasizing 8 years being alone about how he'd work on a career. Like, do you guys not get this? You silly, silly homo communion.